So, well, guys, I want to thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. It's been a long time in the works to get to this point. We've fought, kicked, and screamed and bled. So we're making big progress. So we're excited. So we appreciate you coming out here and being part of this. I'm Joe Peck. It's my wife Michelle, as you know. I got 5 kids over here. Where's your hands? They go to Marceline schools here. Moved here from California with 2 kids. Now we got 5 kids. So funny how that happens. So we want to start by thanking you guys for being here. We'll go over the course of this about what we're doing with the theater, what the next steps are. I have a few stories for you to tell. But first, we wanted to invite our first person to come speak, which is our leader in town. We have a few leaders. Okay, this is one of the major leaders in town, Mayor Buck, to come say a few words for us. Okay, so yeah, she wanted a loud ovation. She told me.
You built that up way too much. Thank you all for being here on this very historic day. And I do want to say that the theater here in Marceline is very near and dear to many of our hearts. We all are here for that reason, more than likely. I know as a child I wasn't raised in Marceline, but it was a true treat to get to come from Rothville, Missouri to Marceline to the theater. So, very special place for me and a childhood memory that I will never forget. Today what we want to do is we are going to acknowledge the official sponsor of the plaque that's going to go on, and that's Midwest Preservation Group at Chambers. And through that, the Historic Preservation Commission of Marceline and the Marceline City Council for this event. And now I'll turn it over to Ed or whomever to take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor just introduced Russ, because of Russ and Ed. If it wasn't for the Midwest Preservation Group, and I'll speak a little bit more about them in a little bit, but they were the experts behind us getting to this point. So, and the group representative is Russ, or you know him as Ed. So, not Mr. Ed, but we call him Mr. Russ.
Thanks for clarifying.
Let's say a few words to tell a few stories.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Joe. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'd like to express my warm thanks to everybody coming out here, but especially to the Historical Preservation Commission Board of Marceline and to the City Council. Without them, this really wouldn't have been possible. They have been a tremendous support. So I know that they all couldn't be here, but I would like you to raise your voices and your hands so they can hear you in City Hall. Come on. There we go. There we go. So when Joe and I were talking about doing this, Joe said, hey, tell a story about the theater. If you want a story from a Michigander, that's me, that's going to be 2 hours, and we just don't have that. I started thinking about what story could I tell? It's nice and short and sweet. I could talk about how A.B. Cantwell came here, purchased the Snappy Theater that was on that side of the building in the 1920s, and the Kaiser Koch building was here, and then raised them and built this. Kind of academic stuff, scholarly, that's what I do. Or I could talk about Glenn Dickinson, the first guy that leased the Uptown. It was originally named the Dickinson, and how he had some fishy dealings. Another good story, yes. But I think it comes down to more personal stories. Like in the 1930s, during the Great Depression, this theater right here helped the poorest families in Marceline. They held drives, food drives, clothing drives. They did free movies for people in the Depression. In the 40s, this building sponsored, and the owners of the building sponsored war bond rallies. They had kitchen oil collections. I didn't know that kitchen oil was used in the manufacturing of rubber, apparently. In the 50s, well, you see, Walt Disney came back. Great locomotive chase. But then I started realizing, I started talking to people online. And I realized I don't have the story. You guys do. The story of the Uptown Theater is all of you all of you who knew Basil Fogelson, how many of you know Basil? Right? If all of you who had your first date here, your first kiss, all of you who had Basil knock your feet off of the seat in front of you with his flashlight, saying, "That's rude, get out." All of you that worked in here, or stayed, lived up there. There's 5 apartments that used to be rented. These are your stories. And that's what really matters in history, is your stories, not what I can do as an academic. So what we want you to do is, we want you to go out and tell everybody your story. Tell them why the Uptown needs to be saved, why we need to bring it back. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Joe. Well, actually, Joe, I guess it's time for the dedication, right? So, with that being said, I would like to hand this over to Joe. We have officially gotten on the National Register. It's the first one in town. We're hoping for many, many more to come along. So Joe, it's an honor. I appreciate you trusting me in doing this. I present you with this plaque.
Yeah, I'll finish up here with a few things of what's next for us. But again, I really appreciate you guys being here. I know Russ mentioned the City Council and the Preservation Group Marceline, but the City Hall, Rich, you guys have done a wonderful job with us and your patience and allowing us to work as a small business to move things forward. It's been hard, but we've fought to get here, so we'll keep moving forward. So 2 things of business real quick. Before you guys leave here, there's 3 things for you. We have a flyer for you that will have you go to our website. You can follow along with us. We have a trading card for you guys as a souvenir for being here. It's a theater trading card, first edition. Okay, I'm gonna throw that out to you guys. And then we have some snacks. Okay, so make sure you guys get these 3 things before you leave. But just to admit, guys, we started this process of a historic registry a few years back. And I mean, I'm not the smartest guy, not the dumbest guy. I can speak 3 languages. I can speak English, Portuguese, and Spanish, but I don't speak Greek. Okay, and the paperwork for the registry was Greek. Okay, Russ said the language was government. Okay, either way, I couldn't speak it. So I was grateful when the Midwest Preservation Group came and found us, and they said, "Guess what? We're bilingual. Guess what? We speak English and we speak Greek." So I'm glad they do, because it was through their efforts they understood the paperwork, and it was a lot of paperwork, and it took about a year for us to get to this point now. We started over a year ago, actually. And so if it wasn't for the Midwest Preservation Group, we would still be, doing something else, not this. So thank you. Appreciate you guys very much. A little bit of background. We love history. 1888 is when all this started here in town. This building, like Russ said, can tell stories. You guys can tell stories. So we want to preserve as much as we can. But one of the great things about being on the registry is that it opens up the doors for grants. Okay, that's one of the main things. That's the biggest question I get is, well, what's next? Do you guys get grants? Well, the answer is yes. Okay, for those who know grant stuff, grant work, okay, it was new to me. It's a long process too. There's deadlines and there's time frames and windows, and you got to do paperwork and you got to find someone who can do it. Okay, which we're doing as well. So this isn't overnight to do this. It'll take time, but we're doing it. The windows, the doors are now open for us to move forward and to get the funding that we need. Okay, we have plans in place for the theater, what work needs to be done. And so one of the main questions I get too is, well, are you guys showing your movies again? I saw movies here. And the answer is yes, we are. First order of business, when this building inside gets fixed, we want to show movies. Not want to, we will. Okay, new releases, we're going to show here again. But it's more than that. Okay, we have a stage here. I imagine you have stories about watching movies in here. Okay, we've heard stories of people saying they met their spouses here, and they had their first kisses here, and their second kisses, and their first dates, and a lot of neat stories about people's experiences in this at the movie theater, right? So that is something we will absolutely get up and going as a movie theater. But we have a stage, okay, and the stage will be used for concerts. It'll be used for plays, theatrical plays. It'll be used for entertainments, okay? Whatever a stage can be used for, it'll be used for. Okay, we also have rooms upstairs that were apartments. Now we use them as Airbnbs. They've been closed for this season because we've been doing renovations in the building. But those will be uniquely themed out as well. So it'll be a nice draw for the town, and it'll be neat. I'm from California. You don't find like one-room movie theaters, let alone to have hotel rooms above the theater. Like, that was foreign to me, okay? So we're excited for what we're gonna do, what we can do with this building. The goal is to use this building as a community asset, right? We have a nonprofit where the building sits in, and we want to allow schools to use it, we want to allow churches to use it, companies to use it, allow the public obviously to use it and rent out. So that's the overarching goal, is to have a community asset that can be utilized by everybody who needs theater. It's all of us, right? And then one of the goals too is when we redo this facility, as we're redoing it, we have to modernize it, right guys? Electricity, plumbing, needs to be modern. The bathrooms upstairs are like itty bitty, small little places. They'll be modernized, but we will keep the vintage feel. So it's like stepping back in time, but yet enjoying modern amenities. So that's that's one of the main goals. So if you have questions, Russ talked about your stories. On this flyer here, it'll have our website. We encourage you to go on our website, join our mailing list, right? And send us emails or videos about your stories in here. We like to preserve as much as we can. What's the point of being on the registry unless we're going to preserve history, right? So that's number one. Take the flyer, go to the email on the flyer, and register your email on there so we can keep contact. Okay, a few items that we want to invite you guys to do also is follow us on social media, right? Unless you're like super old, right? Which that's obviously none of us here, right? Right, Russ? Right?
Why are you looking at me?
You know what Facebook is, right? TikTok, Facebook, okay? Follow us on social media, guys, please. We want you to invite you guys to be a part of this. We post stuff, like it, comment on it, share it. Okay, get the word out. Positive stuff that we want to participate together. This will be a community asset, so let's do the community part before we get to the end. All right, let's be part of this together. Also, too, keep the trading cards. I like trading cards. Okay, so let that be a memorable event that you came to this. You're part of it, so keep them. And then the last thing I want to invite you to do is make sure you eat. My wife made a lot of stuff. Sorry, I told you I wouldn't mention it was you. Okay, my kids made a lot of food, right? And so I don't want to go home with any of it. So make sure you have a good time and eat. Okay. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. And we encourage you again to follow along and be part of this. So, any questions right now? Going once, going twice. All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks again for being part of this. Being here. So, this last part now, we're gonna screw some screws in there. Hopefully it works. Okay. And then at that point, we'll pull the food out and start eating. So, thanks you guys.